I started coming over to see her while she lived at her mother's house. I had to visit while her mom was at work because she never wanted anyone to visit my wife. We played games with the kids and went to the neighborhood pool a few times after about 4 months of daily visits and even some sleepovers with the kids at my house. Her mother changed the locks of her house while they stayed over. She thought that since her daughter trusted me enough to bring the kids to my house, we knew each other well enough for her to move in. I'm sure it had nothing to do with the fact that she just wanted to unload her daughter on someone else because she herself was engaged to be married. We had a great 2 months of living together until we found out from the landlord that there wasn't enough space for 3 children. I immediately started looking for new housing for my new family. 5. We searched for a while but couldn't find any houses that fit our budget. So I agreed to move in with her father, several states away. I was scared to move away from everything I knew for the past 10 years. For a woman, I didn't know I should have kicked her out right then. But I decided she was worth taking the leap for. I was used to being married and committed to someone. I wanted children and I cared for the 3 of them. That's why I came home from work and found out that she was still talking to her youngest father. She swore that it was about visiting the child, only nothing between them. But she was planning to meet him so he could at least say goodbye to his child if we were moving so far away. She asked if we were moving like she wasn't even sure it was happening. Despite all the packing and boxes in my house, she was on her phone more than usual and I just knew this was more than what she was saying. We got into a fight about it. So she left with the kids for a while. I went out drinking and I wondered if this was the right thing to do. I got home late and she still wasn't back. I started to worry because I really did care about her and I was never a father, but I could imagine a dad should have every right to say goodbye to his child. I was more worried that there was more going on between my new girlfriend who I was risking everything I had for and the kid's father. My worries were becoming more real when she didn't come home until the next morning. It was very strange because she didn't get back until I was at work. One of the last days before moving, when I got home, she acted like everything was fine and it was such a relief to see me. It was a relief to see her too because I got used to her presence. Everything was good until we laid down in bed together. Then her heart was pounding, so loud I could hear it. I asked her what was going on and she broke down. She said she slept with her kid's father again. I jumped out of bed and started screaming. I knew this was going to happen. This was why I didn't want her to go and we had a fight about it. It was 12 a.m. when I kicked her out with her 3 kids. They went back to her mom's house but she wouldn't let them in. So I bought her a hotel room for her and the kids before they drove 10 hours. The next day, she called me so many times begging me to answer the phone and give her another chance. She said she loved me and never meant to sleep with him. She knew it was the last and only time she was ever going to sleep with another man besides me. I told her she was wrong because I would never have her again. I have no idea where she is today, but I know I lucked out. I was willing to give her my heart and provide for her and her children, but it wasn't enough for her to remain loyal to me and respect my wishes. I believe I'll find a woman that knows how to turn down a man's advances out of love and dedication to me. I am so sorry. This woman betrayed your kindness, generosity and commitment. For one more night with her ex, it shows how immature and mindless she was for failing to think of you or her kids or any of the consequences of it. It sounds like her mother was heartless but familiar with her daughter's poor decision-making. Having 3 kids and an abusive marriage should have caused your ex to think through the long-term effects of her actions. She should have put herself last with her children and you coming first. Sometimes we all have to go through massive tragic mistakes to realize what we need to work on to better ourselves. We might not ever have the answers to our hardest questions until we suffer. The hardest thing to learn is probably that you don't matter very much. Whatever you project or do is what matters. So focus on making that worthy and positive. No one should have to have many bad experiences with people anyways. That's enough for this story. Let's now get into our second story. For today, I was a single father living with my elderly mother. My girlfriend left me and our child to find herself. She enrolled in a school out of state and lived with a roommate. She didn't really give me any indication that we'd be getting back together in the future. She did say she'd want to be in her son's life. But that would be later. I was shocked and basically begged her not to leave or do this. I asked her if she could do classes online, but she said it was the freedom and experience she needed. In addition to the knowledge. 2 years after she left, I'd been with several women that never met my son. I wouldn't have them at my house. Instead, I had my sister come over to babysit. She felt bad enough that my ex abandoned us. Well, at least for a while I was at work when I got a phone call that made my stomach flop. I stepped outside to answer it. And of course it was my ex. She said she graduated and was moving back to her town. She said she knew it had been a while. So she didn't expect me to let her back into our lives easily. But she made it clear that she intended to win back my heart. I'll admit I was pretty happy. I thought the ordeal was over and we could have the life. I thought we would. As soon as she got back. She had me over at her new place and we made a nice reunion out of it. I went home on cloud 9 and started dreaming about her reuniting with our son. It happened sooner than it should have. Just a week after she got back. She saw him again. I wanted her back in our lives and I wanted her back in her house. But she said she wanted me to come over at least one more time before she started packing up. She added that she had something to tell me, but thought it would be better in person. I was nervous at this point because I knew I let her back in my heart too fast. I started assuming the worst. When I got there, she introduced her male friend, roommate to me before I could even react to the fact she was living with some guy while I was sleeping with her. She started kissing him in front of me. I started yelling, "No," and trying to turn around and leave. But they both grabbed me and made me sit on the couch. I was obviously terrified. I stayed still and pretended I would hear them out. She explained that since she found herself in college and that she needed me to at least consider the possibility of sharing her with AP. She said the idea excited her and this was a way we could keep the relationship alive. She added that I could have another woman too if I wanted. I thought of our son and felt so weird. I didn't want him to live in a house with his parents and their other lovers. This was never going to happen. I knew we were done because she was living and sleeping with this guy without telling me. She purposely tried to get me into something I would never have agreed to if she told me about it beforehand. As soon as there was enough space between me and them, I bolted out the door. She yelled after me and even tried to grab me, but I was gone. I got back to my boy and gave him a huge hug. I called the police to report how she held me there and threatened to drug me if I didn't stay. I filed for custody of our son that very same week and 1 month later because my wife and AP were already broken up. So she had no permanent address or place for him to live. The police report might have helped my case. I think it was pretty obvious that he should continue to live with me. Visitation was scheduled, but she doesn't always show up because it makes her mad that I'm ordered to be present and that I don't fall for her emotional tricks. Plus every time she sees her son, she knows deep down that she messed up. I feel bad she's missing out on so much. Whenever she gets a job, child support will start coming out of her wages. I started dating again like I was before. But I've also made sure to start spending time with myself. I speak positively to myself and rest assured that when it's time for a woman to become a role model in my son's life, she will. I am so sorry. Your girlfriend abandoned you and the child. It's hard to believe she would up and leave without giving you a hint at the future of your relationship. But she probably didn't want you to wait just in case she decided never to return. She did not deserve a second chance as your woman and the mother of your child. And she probably knew that, which is why she manipulated you into meeting her without telling you everything first. She wanted you to feel like everything was going to be fine. Now that she was back. It's a very tricky mind tactic. The fact that you unexpectedly lost her and expected a future together was another reason she was able to convince you so easily. She was willing to terrorize you to get her way, but you managed to get the heck out of there and never go back. You are a very wise and thoughtful man. You put your child's well-being above your own emotions, which is precisely what all parents should be doing. It takes an adult to realize that their emotions don't have to rule their actions. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe, if you haven't already. Also comment below with your thoughts on what happened. If there is a story you would like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to contact me. I want to thank all of you again for your support. It truly means a lot to me. Take care.